Welcome to The Recovering Perfectionist, where you'll learn all the hacks you need to get started and finished on your business or project. You'll connect with successful entrepreneurs who are in perfectionist rehab, unapologetically experimenting and balancing life, business, family, and me time. I'm your host and Chief Recovering Perfectionist, Claire Barton. Hey everyone, it's Claire, and on the show today I have got the amazing Trish Everett, and you'll hear about it in the episode, but Trish and I have done a little bit of work with each other on and off for the last year or so, and my husband and I actually did an amazing online communication course with her, which is where I really sort of delved into how amazing she is and the sort of things that she talks about. And there's lots of things that have really stuck with me, which you'll hear about in the episode, about personal responsibility and what that really means, and really communicating with each other in a relationship, and also just in life in general and in our business or in my business, on a needs level rather than a behavioural or, whinging and nagging and that sort of thing. So it's a really interesting space to get into. It's a beautiful episode. It actually kind of almost turned into a little bit of a reverse coaching session, which was really nice. So when I was asking Trish some questions, she kind of turned it around and asked me to give some examples, as I suppose she would with a real life client. So it was kind of nice to be on the receiving end of that as well. And we talked about quite a lot of things. So I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think. And follow Trish. Do get in touch with her. She's just amazing. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you really soon. Hi, it's Claire here from The Recovering Perfectionist, and I'm here with the amazing Trish Everett, who is a communication consultant and mindset coach, amongst 4,000 other things. How are you going, Trish?
I'm good. Gorgeous to be here with you.
So great to have you here. So for everyone listening, Trish and I have had a little bits and pieces to do with each other, I guess, for the last year and a half or so, something like that. And your biggest claim to fame for me, in my mind, is the Sweet Talk program that you ran with a heap of couples about a year ago, I reckon, about early 2016. And my husband and I went through it along with a couple of other couples, and it was absolutely amazing. We were kind of having some communication stuff going on, and we thought we needed some sort of help, and then your course came along and we did it, which we're going to talk about some of that a bit more in a minute. But I guess before I keep rambling on about how much I love you, maybe you can tell us a bit about who you are and what you do, and what's your thing at the moment. What are you working on, and where are you at with your biz?
Beautiful. Oh, thank you. And yeah, the Sweet Talk program is something that's really close to my heart, that ability for us to be able to communicate with one another in a way that's really connected is very much part of what I get really passionate about. And yeah, so my business is very much around supporting people in their mindset and, that inner journey to being able to be the success or be, and whatever their version of success is, not necessarily having success in this kind of, brought in by somebody else's perspective, but the success in all areas of life, be it life, business, relationship, that is really true to them, like what their dreams are and their passions are. And supporting that inner journey that goes along behind that. That's one part that I get very excited about. And then the next part is then how do you communicate that? How do you connect with other people from that empowered place? So yeah, I guess I get very excited about that sort of little bit that happens between being connected but also having the freedom to be yourself. So I guess that's the question that I'm always searching for, is how do I completely be myself and still be connected, and how do I assist other people to be the same?
Which is a really, really big topic, especially when we're talking about online businesses and how you show up online, and that kind of fine line between being authentic and being, in it for yourself and for your own therapy and that sort of thing. It's kind of an interesting thing. I've been having a few other conversations along those sort of lines recently, and it's really interesting to get everyone's perspective on that as well. So before we go any further, I just want to bring you back to when you were saying about success for whatever that means to you. I think that's a really important thing, and I think we talk about that a lot. I talk about that a lot, and I know you do as well. And can you just explain a bit more about, like, how do you, if you're working with someone, how do you kind of coach that through with them, and how do you kind of help them to be okay with whatever their version of success is and not have to worry about everyone else's version of success for them?
Yeah, I guess it's an interesting process, because what we've been thinking about, it can kind of get a bit disconnected from what our heart is. And so I think that the process of coaching down is to take down through the layers of what's happening in the mind, what's the story that goes along with success, until you get to a place where you can, it's almost like the air changes when you hit that place where the heart then goes, oh yeah, this is it. Yeah. This is it. And, you know, you get the tingles and that place. Another really powerful practice in it is visioning. And visioning engages the imagination and the creativity, and you're trying to capture the first thoughts that come in, because that's where the real gold is. So in those sort of, in little, first thought, and first picture, first thing you imagine is usually a lot closer to what that heart space is. So yeah, two approaches, one coming up from the vision, which is trying to, you know, take a butterfly net and catch the heart gold, and the other one is to sort of disassemble from the brain level down. And depending upon the person, those two methods work in different ways.
Sure.
Very analytical people sometimes have problems, well, not problems, but challenges in using that beautiful heart space butterfly net to catch their vision, because they can't disengage their head. So it's a matter of untangling that. But for other people, their creativity is just wanting to sing. So coming from the vision end can be really powerful for that as well. And, you know, I think it's a checks and measures thing of going, well, once you come up with what success is, to go, well, what does that mean? And what does that mean? To try and really dissemble down to where it's coming from. So, for example, I could say to you, I want to have a 6-figure business. Now, that really means nothing.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of, yeah, sure, that would be nice, but what does that mean? What does that give me? And when I go back down and look at what it gives me, I start to get to the core of what it is that I really, really want. And then I can build that up again and go, oh, well, what that actually means is I want a 5-figure business working 20 hours a week.
Sure.
Yeah. So you can, it's rather than, oh, look, you know, there's all this hype around that and I want that.
Yeah.
Coming back to the core and then building it back out again.
I love it. I think that's such an important message. And I had a similar kind of moment, just exactly what you were talking about, that I had the moment at the end of last year going, I haven't made as much money as I wanted, and I really want to do this and I really want to do that. And what that means is I'm going to have to put the kids in daycare for an extra 2 days, and I'm going to be able to do this and da da da. And then I thought, hang on a minute. I started my business because I wanted to spend more time with my kids, not less, and I wanted to be there and I wanted to be available and I wanted to be able to, you know, have some time to spend with my friends during the week, or go for coffee, or go and meet my husband for lunch or something. I didn't start this so that I could actually do more, but I kind of got caught up in that hype of going, well, if I want to have that income, which didn't, like, of course it would be nice to have more income, but it's, what do I want more income for? I want it for freedom and flexibility. So if I'm actually going to strive for more income by taking away freedom and flexibility, it just doesn't make sense. But it was kind of a watershed moment, I think, to just go, oh, actually, I think I'm focusing on the wrong things, and therefore I'm not getting what I want. And then when I sort of broke it down into, I actually had a session with someone, and she was like, what do you want to be doing, what do you want to be spending most of your time doing? Where do you want your effort to go? And I was like, I want to do more writing and blogging. I want to do the podcast. I want to do speaking, and things that I hadn't really given much time to, because I was always after the other kind of money-making things, which was just counterproductive because I wasn't spending time doing things that lit me up and, you know, all of that sort of thing. So it's really, I think that checks and measures and having someone to ask the question for you is a really powerful kind of starting point to make sure that you're striving for your own success and not getting derailed onto what, you know, someone else's measure of success is. So thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome.
Oh, beautiful. And yeah, I love that story of how you know, went through that process and realigned with the true meaning of success for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than those other people's meaning.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and I'm sure it'll change 1,000 times again in the future, but yeah, that's what felt right for me at the moment, and that's what I'm trying to sort of stick to as well. So, Trish, the main thing that I wanted to chat with you about today is something that I'm literally, I reckon, 2 or 3 times every single week I talk about. Last year, I did this course called Sweet Talk with Trish Everett, and it was amazing. And the best thing I got out of it was, the whole idea of personal responsibility. So when I guess we signed up to do Sweet Talk, we were kind of like, look, we're just not communicating very well. We kind of need to get on the same page about a few things. And I think what I was expecting was kind of a bit of a go over of all the things that I already knew, you know, about body language and your communication and about active listening and all that sort of stuff that we've been taught since, you know, the beginning of time sort of thing, hopefully. But what we got in Sweet Talk was that in like the first week or 2, and then so much more for the rest of the course. And that's where like all the gold really lay about, you know, the personal responsibility, the different kind of personality types in relationships and how they may or may not kind of clash or work really well together, and understanding where each other sort of sat with that. But the really, really powerful thing, and the thing, like I keep saying, is that was really, really pivotal for me was the stuff about personal responsibility. So I'm going to kind of explain what I got out of it in a nutshell. I'm sure I'll be completely way more inarticulate about it, and I'll, you know, ask you to sort of take us through it a bit more as well. But when I sort of thought about personal responsibility, I thought it was just kind of like looking after yourself. That's where I kind of thought it, you know, that was roughly what it was. But what you showed us was so much more, that personal responsibility was there's kind of two parts of it. And one part of it is staying true to yourself and owning your own shit. So if you're in a bad mood, or if you are being, you aren't doing something in your relationship, is kind of taking responsibility for that, owning it, and you know, either apologizing or not apologizing, that sort of thing. So kind of saying like, this is my truth, and I've decided to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it in a considerate way, and I'm going to, you know, pick my timing and that sort of thing, but I'm going to be true to myself. But the other side of it, which I thought was really, 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 really powerful, was not owning everyone else's shit. And I think in a relationship that's really important, but it's also so important in business and in your friendships and driving, like going down the street and you get so frustrated with other people doing stupid things on the road. It's kind of that, you know, you can't, I remember something you were saying about make. We have this thing in our language where we say, you make me really angry, or you've made me really frustrated, or you've made me feel X, Y, Z, which is actually kind of impossible, because I'm choosing to feel X, Y, and Z because of a behavior that you did, but I'm doing that, not you. That was your behavior, not mine. And that was really pivotal to me, because it's changed a lot for me in my relationship and also in my business, in terms of that, like I'm still very truthful, and I kind of check in with myself about, am I just nagging because it's a habit and I don't actually give a shit about whatever I'm talking about, or do I actually give a shit and I really do want to say something about it, but I need to, you know, say it in a productive way, or that sort of thing. But then it's also the next part of it to go, you've got the shits? Okay, cool. That's not my problem. Like, I've been truthful. I've said this in a considerate way. I'm being true to myself, and I have been hurt by this, and it kind of went down to the needs level, which is the next thing we can maybe talk about. And yeah, having that kind of empathy to go, like, I see that you're feeling angry, or I see that you're feeling sad, or, you know, I'm sorry that you're feeling that way, but I'm not sorry. Like, I haven't made you feel like that. I've done my thing, and now it's up to you with what you do with your thing. So a completely inarticulate way of describing it, but I just love the whole concept. So I'll hand over to you to maybe articulate all of that in a better way than what I just have.
Well, no, I thought you articulated that really well. Like, you know, top of the class.
Oh, thanks.
But, and, you know, it is, with all of these things around communication, it's, you know, you can have the aha at a, like hearing the information level, but it's when you actually put it into practice in your life, which is what you have been doing, that's when the real truth of it kind of sinks in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, your description of that is, you know, partly based on what we went through in Sweet Talk, but it's also based upon your experience thereafter of putting that into practice in your life. So I really honour you for that, to be able to, you know, not only just take that in and go, gee, yeah, that's a great idea, but to actually put it into practice in your life. And that's where oh my God, I've got to tell people about this every week.
Right.
Because it's the difference that it's been made in your life. So just wanted to sort of start with that.
Thank you.
But yeah, because all of these things, they're practices. It's not about learning a thing. It's about having a new skill that you put into practice in your life. So they're all really, really doable things that you can make changes. But like, the thing for me with self-responsibility, and a lot of people have a responsibility kind of response, like it's not always oh yeah, I want to be responsible, bring it on. Isn't always. There's often quite a reaction that goes with the word responsible, and this idea of, you know, like you said, owning your own shit. That's really great when we say it to ourselves, but you can't really say that to somebody else, like own your own shit. Like, it doesn't always land. So we have resistance.
Yes.
We totally have resistance to saying, I'm going to be responsible. I'm just going to take this out because I feel like it's banging on the microphone. A moment, just pause while she takes out her earring.
Pause for effect.
Pause for effect. So, and now pause for effect again while I retrace my train of thought.
When own your shit doesn't quite land on people, and responsibility is a bit scary.
Yeah, so firstly with self-responsibility, I love to reframe that as having access to your own personal power. Because when we're not being responsible, so you articulated it really beautifully, in fact, that there are two sides to it. There's the part of it where being self-responsible is being true to ourselves and owning our own stuff or shit, you know, owning that. That's one side of it. And in terms of our personal power, when we're not doing that, if we're putting our stuff on somebody else, or we're playing the blame game, or we're not being true to ourselves, we're not standing in our power. We're not being the powerful person who we are. And when I say personal power, I'm talking about that, you know, that je ne sais quoi, that confidence, that ability to really stand up and be who we are. And when we're not being self-responsible, we're giving that away. Then we start blaming somebody else for how we are and not owning our own shit. We're not in control of it. So therefore, it's outside of our power, and as such, we're giving our power away. The frame of being powerful by being responsible for ourselves, because that's like so much more exciting than being responsible. I'm self-responsible. I'm powerful.
Right.
Like it's really different. It's a shift.
Totally different.
And then on the other side of it, when we start feeling responsible for other people, you know, we are the cause of their misery, for example, we're actually overstepping our responsibility. And so we're feeling like what we do we become responsible for others. And in doing that, we're actually taking away their power. We're taking away their ability to be able to stand up and own their own stuff. So just as when we blame somebody else, we're giving our power away, when we won't take responsibility for somebody else's pain, we're taking away the control they have over themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So especially in a relationship, whether it be a romantic partnership or whether it be in business or with clients or with, whoever you are in communication with, the most creative, productive, amazing, nurturing, respectful space is where both people are able to feel powerful. So being self-responsible is the vehicle for you both to be able to feel powerful. And when two people feel powerful, oh my goodness, it's like, what can happen?
Yeah.
Whereas if both people aren't feeling powerful and somebody's overstating the other, or someone's putting their stuff on somebody else, it's like you're putting a leash around each other. And like you're saying, like it's not the way that we were taught how to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it.
Like you pointed out that they've got mechanisms in our language, like, you're making me feel really nervous here.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at, like, and all of a sudden I have just put my feeling nervous onto you by saying that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty nervous now. I'm owning it. It's mine. My nervousness is me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not, and I'm much more powerful if I own that. I have complete control over it. If you're making me nervous, I don't. You have control over it.
Right.
So when I'm expecting you to change some behaviour, so I don't feel nervous anymore. Whereas if I feel nervous, but it's mine and I own it, well then I have complete control over being able to change that.
So something that you talked about in Sweet Talk, and something that you've just reminded me of, is that often people, and I think often women, have this innate desire to fix and to keep things harmonious and that sort of thing, which we talked about in Sweet Talk. And so in that sort of a situation, say like if someone said, you're making me feel nervous, or even I'm feeling nervous, I'd be like, oh, okay, what can I do? What can I do to help? Like, is that a thing? Is that just you're trying to keep things harmonious and not create ripples and that sort of thing? And kind of, for people who, especially, I suppose, people who identify or think that they've got these perfectionist sort of traits and they're fixers and they're kind of yes people and they're just trying to help and fix everyone else. What happens? What do you do? What's the better option?
Well, I think the first thing is to check in with why you want to help. Like, so in this scenario, let's say, you're making me feel nervous. If I say that and you go into, I've got to fix it, what's your intention behind it? So that's the first place to check it out.
I guess if you said I'm feeling nervous, I would feel like, oh no, I don't want her to think that I'm a certain way, so I better fix it. Like, I'm obviously doing something that's making her feel nervous, so I better try and fix that so she doesn't think that I'm that thing. Would probably be, I think, at the core of that thought process for me in that situation.
Yeah, so again, that's like a stepping over of responsibility that comes from a space of, like wanting to care, wanting everyone to be okay, wanting to support people. So that, it is an overstepping. And first to realise that, and the flip side of that is to own what's going on for you, that maybe you don't feel comfortable, or that you're feeling judged by that, or that somebody might think that you've done the wrong thing, and that's not comfortable. So to wind it back to the place where you're not jumping into their feelings, to bring it back where you're connecting with your own. Yeah. And to really quickly, like in your brain, to do it, and you can say this out loud, you can acknowledge their feeling, like you can acknowledge it without having to take it on. Oh, okay, you're feeling nervous. Like even just that statement allows you to recognize it, to acknowledge it, and at the same time, you don't have to take it on.
Right. Yeah.
And, And you can put an offer in place. Is there something I can do to make that easier for you?
Sure, not to take it away, but to support you through whatever you need to do to get yourself.
Which is very different to automatically going into fix it mode.
Yeah, right.
To help with a mission.
Yeah.
So there can be, for helpers, for people that like to help, seeking permission to help is always a really great first step.
Yeah.
First checking in with the intention, the reason behind wanting to help. So, okay, let's do a little scenario. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so nervous.
What can I do to help you feel less nervous? No. What can I do to make this easier for you?
Well, either would work. Like, what, you know, first step might be to just check in, is there something I can do? Like, just even to see whether or not you want to step into that space. But what can I do? So go with your first one, because that was the first thing that came through, and it was a nice open-ended question. Well done.
See, I did this communication thing called Sweet Talk.
So your question again?
Oh, so what can I do to help you?
Oh, I actually think I've got to just go with my breathing a little bit and connect down. I think, that's going on for me. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
It gives somebody a chance to kind of respond in that I'm gonna look after it myself.
Yeah, right.
Could be, could you just tell me how much you love me for a moment, just so you know I know that I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I might sort of call out for reassurance. You know, like you're giving them an opportunity to let you know. And you know, people aren't always great. That's the flip side of it, and that's sort of where we went to next in the course. You know, we all have different abilities to be able to talk about what it is that we want and what we need. And sometimes being, what can I do to help? If you premise that with, is there something I can do? It just means that if someone's particularly tender and they feel like, no, I don't want you to fix it, because that could be the other way. I don't want you to fix me. I'm fine. Leave me alone. Like, if people can go into that really reactionary space. Yeah. So testing the waters first can be a beautiful next step before into the, all right, I've got my hammer, I've got my nails, what can I do to fix this stuff?
Yeah, beautiful. And exactly what you were just saying, the next thing that I thought was, you know, the crux of the whole communication thing and kind of the climax of the course was about needs, and that, you know, we talked about some of those annoying things in a relationship. And if I talk about with my husband, I was getting annoyed at that time because he kept leaving his cereal bowl on the side of the sink instead of washing it or putting it in the dishwasher in the morning. And I was like, why can't he just put it in the dishwasher? Why can't he just wash his cereal bowl? He's not a child. Why can't he do it himself? And we sort of drilled down and was like, so, you know, let's go through your needs. And, you know, we did that whole exercise. And one of probably my biggest need is that equity and that feeling like where both of our time is worth the same. Both of our energy is worth the same. We both put in 50-50 overall. It doesn't have to be like all, you know, 50-50 on every single thing in our relationship, but overall. And so what that subconsciously meant to me was that he thought my time wasn't worth as much as his, so I had time to wash his cereal bowl and he didn't. And stupid things like that. It had nothing to do with the cereal bowl. It was just that I felt like, why should I have to do it out of my time when you can't do it out of your time? So that was a really kind of interesting thing to unwind and to understand better my needs so that I could then articulate them and not nag about the stupid things like the cereal bowl. And I could actually say, hey, this is really important to me and this is why, and this is how sometimes I feel it shows up for me, and this is how sometimes I feel like my needs aren't being met by me or by you or as a couple. And since then, I think it's probably been the same in my business, where there's been some things that I've gone, hey, no, that's not okay. I'm not okay with being treated like this. Like, you know, you can't email me at 11 o'clock at night and ask for this thing that needs to be done yesterday. Like, that's not okay with me. But I used to be, okay, you have to like me and you have to keep paying me and you have to yep. And since I've sort of started to get a bit more, I mean, like that sort of thing doesn't really happen, but, you know, that sort of stuff. To actually say, no, 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 no. And now it's like this, people get me. I know where my boundaries are, and everyone else knows where my boundaries are. And we're cool with that. There's never an issue. Do you know what I mean? So it's such a knock-on effect to understand what your needs are and what's sort of at the core of your values, and that's dynamic as well. That may change, over the course of time and that sort of thing. But it's a really, really important exercise. And I would say if there's a thing that people can do to really drill down and understand what their needs are and what their partner's needs are, or in a business sense, what their clients' needs are, and work out where's the happy medium and where does that sort of fit in and do they fit in, was a really, really powerful thing to understand, which I've never really gone into before. I've done, values workshops as a team and that sort of thing, but never really, sat down. Like I sort of, someone says, what are your values? I'll be able to rattle them off just off the top of my head, but I've never kind of drilled down into what that actually means for me and why and where it came from and where it's been lacking in the past, where it's lacking now, and, all of that sort of thing. So, so tell me, like, from your perspective, you've just sort of mentioned about the needs and how they kind of fit in. I'll hand over to you to kind of carry on that train of thought. I just get ranting about this stuff, as you can see.
Another two really, probably three really amazing parts of what you just went through on your own personal story with that, and the bringing in of different parts of it. And I think the first part that you mentioned was that really being able to connect to your own self and your own truth and burrow down to what is actually really going on. Because otherwise you can spend your whole life bickering about the cereal bowl, the little bits of toast that are left on the side of the chopping board, using the chopping board for marmalade when it should be, or on a business level, you can be bringing a whole lot of angst into your relationships with your clients when they will have absolutely no idea what your playbook is. They don't know. They don't have any idea of the inner workings. So to you, that cereal bowl represents this this lacking in mutuality and equality and not feeling respected for your time. To your partner, it's like it's a cereal bowl. Right. There's a disconnect between what you're talking about and what the actual situation is, and you understand what it is that's actually really going on for you. And this is a really powerful process. And you mentioned empathy, and I look at this as a self-empathy exercise. Like with empathy, we learn how to understand what's going on for another person, how to, the idea of empathy is to walk in someone else's shoes. Self-empathy is about actually walking in our own shoes and understanding what's happening for us. And only from that place of being understanding what's happening for us can we truly communicate clearly. If we don't actually know what's going on, how is our partner going to be able to figure it out? Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really helping anyone out, is it? Yeah.
No. So the first point of call is to really drill down that, what do I feel about it? How did you feel about the cereal bowl? What was the instant feeling that you had?
Yeah. Frustration, annoyance, and no, there's something else there. It's like a disappointment. I don't even know what word. I think there's another word there, but I can't think exactly what it is. It's kind of like, I don't even know what the word is. Yeah, just kind of like,
okay, they're really good.
Really? Like, again? Are we still here, sort of thing?
Yeah. So it's a nice mix. It's a really lovely mix. We love this mix: disappointment, annoyance, and frustration. Ooh, how yummy! But when you feel that, take it away from the cereal bowl, and what's underneath that? So these are questions to ask ourselves when this comes up, like, what am I feeling, and then what's underneath that feeling? What is it that I'm really wanting to have happen here? And breaking it down, like, what do I need? What am I really wanting? What's the core of this issue? And asking ourselves those questions. Underneath that, let's talk it through with you. So underneath the cereal bowl, I know you've been through the process, so it's a bit easier. You're pre-prepared. I'm so prepared.
Here's my prepared earlier.
So what was underneath that? Like, what was, tell us through that process of the cereal bowl. So why is that?
Yeah. The next thought process, I suppose, is I'll look around and try and find all the other stuff that also I have to do. Like, and the chopping board's out with breadcrumbs, and the bed's not made, and the toothpaste has been left on the vanity instead of in its little cup, or like stupid things like that. So I'll look around and kind of catastrophize it almost and be like, oh, look at all of this evidence that says my time's not worth as much as your time, and get the shits about that. And then, and then I'd probably, I guess that's the whole kind of thing. So then it would be like, well, I have to do it because if he's not going to do it, then I've got to do it. So I'll just go and do it. And then I get the shits because I'm doing it, even though I don't want to be doing it and I shouldn't be doing it. But I like to live in a clean house that doesn't have cereal bowls full of ants in the sink. So I'll do it anyway.
Just to highlight this process, and this is a process that we all go through. We're going through the thought process, the judgment, the story we've created, and the feeling, and we're bouncing back and forward.
Right.
Oh, this story of like, my time's not valued, I'm feeling really annoyed and I'm disappointed, and oh, look, it's over there too. And we're stuck in this cycle of, and so, but you got there, you got this. I have to do this or it won't get done. Is like, that's kind of the crux of the thing. What does that mean? I'm going to come back to that as well. So if you have to do it, what does that mean to you?
It means I don't get to do other things that I like to do or that I need to do. Yep. Takes time away from other things. Yeah.
And what does that mean? And so down below that, like, what's that mean in terms of your relationship dynamic? What is it you're needing that you're not getting?
Time, space, and freedom. Freedom to do my things, I suppose.
Space and freedom. Yep. And in terms of your relationship dynamic, what was it you're needing from them in terms of the dynamic?
Help, I suppose. More doing, more equality in the doing of that sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah. So then it's coming down to you needing space, freedom, and support. But then the conversation is no longer about the cereal bowl. Well, it is, but it's, it's
a symptom rather than the actual problem. Yeah,
the core of it is that. And the next question before, so we're still standing in our own shoes. We haven't actually spoken to anybody yet. The next question is, what can you do for yourself to meet those needs first?
Well, interestingly, I think around the same time I was talking to my best friend and she was like, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I clean the cereal bowl. I put it in the dishwasher. And she was like, well, if you keep doing that, it doesn't matter what you sort of say, you're not showing. So she's she's a psychologist and social worker as well. And she talks about always show, don't tell with kids, with relationships, with whatever, show, don't tell. So I guess one thing that I did start doing was, something I stopped doing was actually fixing it. So the rest of the house would be nice and tidy, but the cereal bowl would still be sitting there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it took 3 days. 3 days. It was like, oh, I better start actually doing it. Otherwise it's going to sit there until 5 o'clock and get full of ants. And that annoys me too. So does that answer your question? In terms of what I can do to support myself in that is to actually go, I'm not going to do it, and make a decision to not do the action that I was doing. It kind of does, but you're still in the space between head and thought. You're still with the cereal bowl. Now I'd like you to think about, well, what can you do to give yourself support, give yourself space and yourself freedom? Oh, so many things. It all comes down to self-care and how I kind of plan and organise my day and my things, I guess. Fill up my own cup.
Yeah, so if your own cup was feeling full, then we go back to the cereal bowl. Then what happens?
It doesn't matter so much, I guess.
Okay, so from that space, when you talk to Glenn, it can be, okay, so I'm actually needing a bit more support here. This is my process. And then the other part that we did was that, you know, we don't demand that he puts the cereal bowl into the dishwasher.
Right.
We ask if he would be willing to, or, you know, asking, because the point that I really wanted to come back to, which is part of where this all got like mixed up and a lot of where the frustration came into, when we're doing things because we feel like we have to, we're not giving them freely. And I don't know about you, but when somebody does something for me that they feel like they have to do, it's like
doesn't mean anything.
Sour sweet. Yeah. Like, sure, I got what I want, but the energy that came with that was like, ew, I don't really like that. Like, you know,
so true. It's like an apology when you've asked for an apology, and you know that you're only getting an apology because you've said, "I want an apology."
Say sorry, Claire. Say sorry right now.
Very effective, very meaningful, so genuine when you actually say thank you.
So yeah, that trying to pull the have to's out of it. So if you demand something, you're putting them in a corner where they either have to follow your orders or they have to disobey them. Like they don't, and you've got nowhere to go. Whereas if it's a request, you also have room to negotiate. So, sorry, I hear all that, but I'm still not going to do anything about the cereal bowl. You know, so then you're in a place of going, well, how can we make this work? I have two girls that are close together. We want to fight all the time, and how are we going to make this work? Is this beautiful negotiating line. It's like always in my pocket.
Yeah, I really like it. And I wonder how That's quite cool with kids / everyone.
Yeah. So I think to pull from that, from where you went through before, it's the first connecting in with yourself and really trying to understand and really trying to build that own understanding so that you can negotiate from a place where you understand yourself, that you've given yourself your empathy. Yeah. And you also ask, well, how can I address my needs on my own? Because that helps to, it's empowering. Like if we're walking around feeling like somebody else has to meet all of our needs, that's not an empowered way to live. Being able to walk around going, look, I can meet a whole lot of my needs, and in partnership with you, I want to negotiate meeting my needs and helping you to meet yours. And I'm going to look after myself a bit too. So there's
total change in dynamic, and it comes back to that personal responsibility, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah. And the boundaries, like the ability to stand up and say, hey, look, actually, I'm drawing a line here. This is not okay. And the boundaries are so much more powerful if they're coming from that inner understanding of what our own needs. And then the last part of it is to not jump into the have tos, either personally, like not give without feeling like you want to give. And you can also reframe that. Like you can reframe the cereal bowl of like, instead of I'm having to do that because he won't, it can be I'm giving this to myself because it matters to me. You know, like anytime there's a have to, if you really still feel like you have to do it, is there a way to reframe it so that it's actually giving? It's figuring out where you want to put the boundary, and where you want to be flexible. And seriously, that's relationship. Where am I going to hold the line, and where am I going to shift it?
Yeah, that's it. And I love what you just said about, you know, whether you do it for yourself or for someone else and that sort of thing. And I think this has been a big part of my kind of realization / listening to my message about the recovering perfectionist sort of thing, that you know, I talk about recovering perfectionist, and since I've started, you know, doing the podcast and using that phrase everywhere, it's really given me, you know, that last little push of permission to not do everything perfectly. But someone would probably still walk into my house most of the time and go, you're still a perfectionist, because the house is always nice and neat and tidy and it's nicely decorated and all that sort of thing. And I've kind of had a bit like, oh, maybe I should leave my house a bit messy so that people don't think I'm still a perfectionist. But there'll always be a part of me that's a perfectionist, and I give that little inner perfectionist jobs to do. And one of them is the house. But it's not it's no longer for everybody else. It's almost always been for me, but I have had little bits of, I've got to clean the house before someone gets here. But now it's fully because that's how I like to live. I like to, even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm half asleep wandering down the hallway to a screaming child, I can look around and go, the house is nice and tight. Like, it means something to me. It feels good to me, and I'm okay with that, and I don't feel like I have to apologize for that anymore, because that's how I like to live. Like, that's my thing. So exactly, when it comes back to things like the cereal bowl, bloody cereal bowl, getting so much airtime today, that cereal bowl, is kind of a thing that, nowadays, and I mean, this is going back a year ago that there was an issue with the bloody cereal bowl, but I'm kind of okay with that sort of thing, because it's really important to me, not because of anything external, but it is really important to me to also feel like my physical environment is comfortable and tidy and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, there's totally a sort of a change in dynamic there, where it's not just a representation of someone else. Like, yeah, I mean, God, bloody cereal bowl. I can't believe how much we talk about cereal bowl. So it's a really cool little totem, I suppose. I might see if I can get a charm bracelet with a bloody cereal bowl on it. No, but it is really.
Well, there's also something in that I just think is just beautiful. Like, you used to keep your house beautifully clean, and not partly for yourself, but also for what other people will think. And now the fact that you're considering not having it so clean for what people will think, I just think that's the sign of a recovering perfectionist.
Yes, recovering, not recovered. I'll never be recovered.
Yeah. This is a process, whether it's about perfectionism, whether it's about self-responsibility, whether it's about being able to understand ourselves. All of it is a process, and that's the beautiful thing about it. There isn't an end goal. Like,
right, that's it.
It's this beautiful process of learning how we can live. So we're not giving our power away. We're not giving our power away to blaming. We're not giving our power away to perfectionism. We're not giving our power away to not to the cereal bowl. We're not going to do it. I will not. So it's that process of going,
yeah,
I'm keeping it.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you, Trish. I could literally sit here and talk about this all day, but we better wrap up, I think. So thank you so much. I absolutely adore you. I love your style. I love your teaching. I love your everything, pretty much everything you put out into the world. I'm like, yay, I love Trish. I'm so glad that you came on the show. Thank you so much. And obviously we'll put all of your links and details in the show notes. But if anyone listening wants to get in touch, what's the best way for them to track you down?
So you can check out my webpage, which is very easily trisheverett.com.au, or my Facebook page, which is Trish Everett, and my Facebook group, which is Radically Me for Women in Business. It is going through a little overhaul, so yeah. Check it all out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the sweet talk, and for staying in touch with us, and for coming on the show. It's been absolutely awesome having you, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I really love the whole recovering perfectionist journey that you're taking us on. Yeah. So I feel honoured to have been part of your gorgeous series.
You're gorgeous. Thank you, Trish. Bye.
Bye.
And that is absolutely it, my lovely. So I hope you've really enjoyed the episode. It was great fun recording that one, as it is with all of them. If you'd like to connect, I'd love to stay in touch with you. I have a beautiful Facebook group community at bit.ly/The Recovering Perfectionist Crew, with all capital T, R, P and C. I have a massive goal this year to get 50,000 downloads on my podcast, and I've got a YouTube show as well. So I'd love for you to help me out if you can by either subscribing to the podcast on iTunes. So if you want to go over and do that now, that would be awesome. If you have a couple of favourite episodes, or if there's one favourite episode that you've really enjoyed, I would love you to share that with anyone who you think would get as much out of it as you have as well. And while you're in iTunes, if you can jump in and give it a review, that would be amazing. iTunes definitely helps out podcasts that have got some good ratings and reviews and some really interactive listeners. So I would really appreciate your help with getting to my goal of 50,000 in 2017. The show is also available over on YouTube. The links are always in the show notes, so you can head over there. So it's The Recovering Perfectionist on YouTube. There's a channel for that as well. So jump in and leave your comment. You can watch all of the episodes in video. So if you want to see what we look like and our crazy hand gestures and facial expressions and all of that sort of thing, absolutely jump in. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel show as well, and then you'll be kept up to date when there's some new episodes that come in there. So yeah, love your support. And if you want to shoot me an email, it's hello@clairebarton.com.au. Always happy to receive your emails and open up a conversation. All right, big love. I'll chat with you soon. Bye.